All right, so we're back with working with this right here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at another way that we could possibly do this code. Once again, I just want to say, well, I'll save that for the end, make it a big surprise. So we're going to go ahead and just comment this all out again. So we're going to go bam like that. Once again, that's a Sublime plugin. I really suggest that you look into Sublime plugins for, if you're finding yourself typing the exact same thing over and over again, I guarantee you somebody else out there was irritated with doing that and made something for it. So don't be afraid to Google that. Now, we looked before at a for statement, so we're going to look once again just quickly at that. A for statement is a great way to iterate through things that have multiple components, or if you need to iterate through a list or a certain times. So this is a great way to do a counter, for an example, or go through an array, or so on and so forth. So a for statement is another great thing in a toolbox, and once again, it's fundamentally the same, or at least has the same concept in any other programming language. So we're going to type out for. Now notice that you can hit the Sublime library here. That is a great tool. I'm not going to say that it's not, especially after me saying that plugins are amazing. But I really suggest with a for statement, because there's a lot of logic going in a for statement, so I really suggest you typing it out every single time. Until you are like, yes, I am comfortable with this. Let's move on. That way you can get it. Once again, it's block level coding, so curly braces, and I'm going to be a friend to myself. Okay. Now, you're going to have three types of logics in here, or three types of parameters that you need to set to your for loop. Basically, the first one is where you want the for loop to start counting. The second one is when you want it to stop. And the third one is how you want it to increment or decrement based on what you want to do, or decrease. I think I said that wrong. But anyway, so we're going to do var I equals 0. Using I as a variable name is once again convention. This could be this for all we care. It doesn't matter. But usually we do I because that stands for index. So we use that because we're indexing, right? So we're indexing through a list. So we usually start, and just a quick point, notice that I declared the variable inside the for loop. Some programming languages will have a hard time with that. So for example, you would need to do this. And then just put I in here. Some programming languages are like that, just letting you know, but JavaScript is nice. It allows us to declare right in the for loop what we're doing. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put a colon right here. You see the colon? So what this colon is saying, okay, this is where it starts. Now I'm going to the next line is where it's going to end. So we're going to do I less than, once again, we're going to make this dynamic. Movie's length. So that means no matter the length of this movie, it's 1 billion, 100, so on and so forth, it's going to always be dynamic that way. One quick point that I'll say after I finish this, and remind me to say that, which doesn't make sense because you can't, but anyway, that's fine. So then the next part is how to increment. And usually this is always going to be the same. It's going to be I++. And I++ is the exact same thing as doing this. So what it's going to do is I is going to go up by 1 every single time. So that's basically the structure of a for loop. Once again, we have our start, we have our finish, and then we have how it's going to increment or go down based on how you want to do it. Because you can have negative for loops, but I suggest just staying with the positive one until you get used to it. One quick point, I would never hard code this. Like for example, I would never do that. That's just asking for errors, And even if it wasn't part of an array, I would do this then. I would do, for example, I would do finish equals 6. And then I would put finish in here. That way I only need to change in one spot. And I don't need to change in a logical spot. So just a quick programming tip. So I would never hard code this. I would always set this as a variable. And notice we're doing a variable, so we're doing movies.length. So movies.length, so we have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so this is going to run 5 times. So it's basically the same thing as doing this. But what happens if we add a movie? What happens if we extract a movie? We're going to have to change this every single time. So this way, we don't need to do that. It will update automatically. So good coding practice to start with that. So let's do our if statement again, our wonderful if statement. So we have our if, once again, block level coding. And once again, I'm going to be a friend with myself, so I'm going to do end of if statement. Just like this, and there you go. So basically what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing that we did here, but we're going to allow the machine to do the heavy lifting. So let's try this. User search equals, notice that we're starting, or sorry, equivalent to, I apologize, that means equivalent to, not equals. If user search is equivalent to the movies. Now notice that we did 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But take a look at this. This I is literally going to go from 0, because we set it to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 every single time. You see that? So a very neat way to do this is simply to do this. Basically what's going to happen here is this. Literally, this is what's happening here. Every single time, movies is going to be updated, just like you see here. 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to go through the for loop. Once again, it's going to hit this block level code. It's not going to escape until this condition is met, so it's going to run at least 5 times. Right? Did I count right? Yes, 5 times. So then it's going to do that. So the first time, movies, or I is going to be equal to 0, so movies at index 0, so this is going to be equal to the Punisher, and it's going to go through like that every single time until it hits 5. So let's try this. So we're going to do a true, and just to show you that it is in fact iterating, I'm going to do this. Just to show that it's in fact iterating. So we're going to go hit this. Bam, look at that. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we got a true. See that? So that means on line 1, index 1, we got a true. Bam, look at that. Yay! So this is a very smart way to go through and test whether or not something's true or false when you're dealing with an array or a list like this. So notice the amount of lines of code that we had to do for these. Look at this. Bam. It's beautiful. I love it. And once again, we can be nice to ourselves and we can do this. So basically it's going to console log if it's not true. So let's change this to Rocky. Shout out to Michael right there. Notice that we got a false every single time because it's hitting this else statement every single time. So it's hitting that and it's going to be like, nope, this is not true. 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 Nope, it's not true. So that's what's happening here. So this is a for loop. And this is a for loop with an if statement. All right, and when we come back, we're going to talk about another way that we can do this code.